Welcome to Lovesick, the podcast where we dive into health, wellness, and relationships and their impact on the world today. Come be a part of the discussion and join our community by following us on YouTube, Instagram, and listening wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Enjoy the show.
Welcome back to Lovesick Podcast. All of us as hosts are here today, but we have special guests, so I want to jump right into it. From Lions Labs, we have Alex Muhammad, who's the CEO, and we have Daniel Pollock, who is the head of marketing. And we are about to dive into kind of a very in-depth topic. We're really going to kind of get into kind of holistic medicine. We're going to get into preventative medicine. You guys do some amazing things. So I just first want to say thank you. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
So awesome to be here.
Yeah. We're excited.
Yeah,
I want to know how
welcome.
people, I have a question really quick for just the audience and our listeners. How well do you think you know your health? Because I think, we can, on the surface, look at each other, and we say this often, where we're like, oh yeah, I'm sure they're fine, they feel fine, whatever. But I'm going to tell you right now, because I don't want to ruin it what these guys are going to talk to us about, but just know we don't.
That's the
Spoiler
thing.
alert, we do not.
Yeah, and collectively, we met you guys.
Mhm.
And then I think it's really what you said is the shock of it's how much we didn't know. So maybe introduce you guys first and kind of what Lions Lab is.
Okay. Lions is very simple. Lions is a research laboratory that's private, that's open to the general public. And we are, obviously, we do all the basic blood work tests that there's out there, all the big guys do. But there's a side of preventative healthcare that people should know about that complements the traditional testing. But if I were to explain to you, most traditional testing, for example, for heart disease, you'd have to have the heart attack before people treat you for heart disease. We have tests that will tell you where you're headed so that you can prevent from having the heart attack. That's the difference between Lions Laboratory and your traditional laboratories that are out there. We want to explain to you what it means, what the results mean, what those values mean in layman's terms, so that you can take that information back to your doctor and then have some, interesting conversations about what's going on in your body. Maybe you don't know about, maybe he doesn't know about, and be in a little bit more of the know. Yeah.
We kind of take it as a proactive approach versus this reactive. A lot of the bigger labs, they're just there to react for a doctor. Our goal is to put the health back into your hands and give you that proactive, like Alex is saying, that you're going to end up finding out what's going on now so you can stop that from a stroke or heart attack that might happen in the next 5 years. And then all of a sudden, oh no, what do I need to do to, prevent that from happening? Yeah.
That's
Yeah, I
great.
mean,
No, but that's fantastic.
Mhm.
But I also want we should let people know that you don't need to wait for your doctor to go get tests.
Exactly.
And you guys can run every regular test, right?
Absolutely.
And the facility's astonishing. I mean, we came into your facility.
Oh,
So
thank you.
yes.
first, you walk in and it kind of feels more like a spa than kind of that informal,
Yes.
when you come in, a lot of people have phobia of needles and
Yeah.
blood draws and stuff. And I know it was a huge point. We talked about it in our visit. For you guys, you've decided you want this space to feel welcoming, to feel at home, for people to have a good experience, which in the run-of-the-mill place, a lot of times labs are just how many people can we draw per hour, right?
Mhm.
Your
And-
number.
And
Yep.
so
Right.
maybe
Literally.
if you can share with people kind of your vision of it and why you wanted to make your place different.
Right.
Yeah, the experience of getting your blood work drawn or getting a needle put into you, it's a lot for some people. For people who that doesn't bother them, that's awesome. That's great. But you still don't want to go into a DMV environment, or you don't want to,
Collect a number and just wait.
yeah. But for some people who, it is not something that they look forward to. We want to create an environment that's relaxing. We want to smile at you and make sure you're comfortable first before we draw blood out of you. We want to make sure that you're calm, that you know that We are professionals. We've been doing this for a very, very long time. Traditionally, when you go to a place that is, a larger corporate environment, it's very hard to staff that with, good phlebotomists, and so they go to schools. And so a lot of times when you go to these bigger facilities, you're going to have a student who just graduated or something, who maybe hasn't practiced the bedside manner, hasn't really practiced customer service. Maybe they're still nervous a little bit. This is their 100th draw versus someone who we specifically look for pediatric phlebotomists who are drawing baby veins. And when you have that type of mentality where you don't want to hurt a baby, you don't want to constantly poke and miss, we look for people like that, and we employ them, and we create a family environment where you guys have went to, and yeah, we really pick and choose who we hire. So
Sometimes you have them draw you too, right?
yeah, absolutely,
That's
absolutely,
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost too welcoming though that I
It
was
is.
like, I mean,
was
not
ready
in a
to sit
bad
on the
way, but where
couch.
you kind of just want to sit on the couch and like chill out,
right?
hang out with the staff. They're very nice and friendly.
But it is. It's a terrifying thing. I mean, I have family members who are terrified to
Yeah.
get their blood drawn. They've had traumatic experiences.
Mhm.
So being conscious of that coming in and knowing, no knock on other labs. I've been around other labs
Mhm.
where they're told they have to have a certain number of draws per hour,
Yeah.
right? And when your draws per hour, it becomes the DMV where it's
Yeah.
like, I just got to line them up and stick them
Right.
and get them out.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that is, it works from a business model from a short term if you're not looking at customer care as much as you're looking at how many people you can get through the door.
Mhm.
But I really admire the way you guys have made this patient centered.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know how sometimes when you go to a hair salon and you go to your hairdresser because your hairdresser just doesn't screw it up,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and you have that trust for that hairdresser. It's the same thing we want to create. People specifically come in and are like, hey, I want Jasmine to do mine, or hey, I want Cecilia to do mine. My blood draw. Hey, is Cecilia in? Because I want to get my blood work done. She makes me feel comfortable. It's that environment. And when you come in and you sit down, you have these conversations. We know a little bit about you too, and about what's going on in your day. It relaxes you.
Right.
And I'll share you a funny story. We had this doctor come in, and he's a doctor, and he was afraid of needles. And he had sat down, and I was telling him, "Don't worry about it. We have, our phlebotomists are amazing." And he's sitting there, and you can just see that he doesn't want to look at the arm, and he's looking over here, and he's
I'm not
just talking
scared.
to me. Yeah, I'm not scared of it. No.
Just do it.
And,
Just
yeah,
do it.
just do it. And he's talking, but he's just like, yeah, I don't really do very well with needles and stuff like that. And she had already pulled the needle out.
Wow.
We're done,
Mhm.
and he's still waiting for him to come in. And we're standing there laughing
Yeah.
at him, and he looks back and he's like, "Oh, are you guys done?" And we're like, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh my god, I didn't even feel it."
Perfect.
That's what I want to hear.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good thing. I'm telling you, when we walked through the facility, especially the lab,
Yeah.
it was so clean. It felt like a clean room. You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
walk in, it's like you're afraid to touch anything,
Yep.
because everything was just so like, there it is right there.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I mean,
Being
and
sterile. Yep.
yeah, and it's huge. And just the people in your office, the staff were just phenomenal. I mean, just their personality and the way they make you feel. Even just hello.
Yeah.
They stop what they're doing and say, hello, how are you?
But the fact that people
It's
ask
warming.
them by name.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I don't think
Yeah.
I've ever been to a lab to get blood work and it was like, can I have Tiffany? Like,
Yeah.
nobody even shares their name anyway at that point.
Right.
So
I'm
it's
going
like,
to tell you, I volunteer in a hospital.
Mhm.
I've never seen lab techs smile so much. I've
Yes.
never seen them joking back
I
and forth and like
know.
just in such a great mood. And
Yeah.
hi, how are you? Let me show you the science of this. Hey, hold on a second. I got to put things away. I got to make sure everything is stable and sterile and do all that stuff. Now let me show you what we like. The most gracious, like we came into their living room,
Yeah.
Mhm.
but those are kind of the people that you guys attract.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then the other thing is too, people are fasting before they come in. They're stressed out. "Oh, I think I fasted enough. I don't know. It's been 10 hours, 12 hours. That's where we'll have like the snacks, the coffee, all that afterwards. Like, hey, You did it. Congrats.
Yeah.
Get yourself a little snack.
Dang.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Well, and
That's awesome.
this
Because
is
they're
an
like, I haven't
example.
eaten all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Medicine doesn't have to be impersonal,
Mm-mm.
Right.
right? Or it doesn't have to feel like a number.
Mhm.
And to that end, you guys have really specialized in preventative medicine.
Yes.
Yeah.
And maybe we should talk about some of those really
yes.
special tests that you
Yeah.
have. I mean,
Yeah.
let's start with the heart one because we kind of mentioned it already.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Tell the audience because it's mind blowing.
I am super blessed to have this amazing doctor named Dr. Douglas Harrington, who chose Lions Laboratory to launch this test with, to partner with. And he developed a test about 13 years ago. It was his idea. And he's the founder of Garda Heart Foundation. He's the current medical director for the state of Montana. This gentleman develops tests for a living. And what this test does is it checks the health of your endothelium, which is your veins, your vascular system, but not just your vascular system, just the inside of your veins. Because traditionally, medicine or test is for heart disease. We're looking at hard plaque. We're looking for condition of your veins from the outside. X-rays. We're looking at inflammation in your body, but not necessarily on the inside of your veins, where it's the pathway to the organ. And so, if there's infections in your veins now, it's going to carry to the organ. And early on, while we're finding diseases, we're finding inflammation, we're finding toxins in your blood, we can quantify how much. And then, based off of whether your ethnicity, your age, your
Family history.
Mm-hmm.
disposition to diabetes, we can take into consideration all of those factors, put it into an algorithm, quantify what your risk is of having a stroke or heart attack within the next 5 years. And it's in a very acute test. It's already proven to be very, very accurate. And it's a check engine light, if you will. I'm going to give you a warning of, hey, you have a 35% chance of having a stroke or heart attack. Or I'm going to tell you, hey, you have a 64% chance of having a stroke or heart attack. We should really, really look into what you're doing. What's your lifestyle?
Not only that, but it's going to tell you the age of your heart.
Mhm.
That's the other part that's crazy. So you could be, 50 years old, and it's going to tell you have an age of 70-year-old heart.
Mm.
Yeah.
Jeez.
It's
I
a
have-
wake-up call.
I
Yeah.
have an 80-year-old heart. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. And-
Yeah.
Yes.
and
Can you
it's-
please tell us
And to
that?
look at
Because-
you, on the outside, you wouldn't even think that. That's why this is so important, right?
Thank you. Well,
Yeah.
that's the question people have is, how come I just turned 50.
Mm-hmm.
How come you have an 80-year-old heart? I just recently got myself down to my body weight. I used to weigh 256 pounds.
Wow.
I was a type 2 diabetic. I had hypertension, high cholesterol. I had the body of probably a 70-year-old man who was about to die about 7 or 8 years ago. And so I was warned about that if I didn't change my lifestyle, my eating habits, exercise, that I would die in the next 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so, not wanting to die, I changed my habits, changed my
Right.
lifestyle, found out what foods are better for me, what foods I need to stay away from, and lost about 90 pounds.
Wow.
And
It's
but
amazing.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
But just because my body shrunk doesn't necessarily mean my organs wasn't taxed for all those years.
Right.
And
toll
so,
on it, yeah.
it took
Yeah.
a big toll on my heart. Now taking this test, I found out that one of the 7 biomarkers that we test for, I only tripped 1 out of the 7 biomarkers, and I have a 14.38% chance
Right.
of having a stroke or heart attack, which is fairly low, but it's still higher than what I should be.
Right.
I should be somewhere around 5%.
And you take this personally because it actually happened to you
Yeah.
in reference to the test. So that's why you have this passion for it to help
Absolutely.
people.
And I can see the value of it.
Mhm.
And I've done this on friends of ours that, didn't know that they were in this condition. And I had a friend of mine who just, recently went to Thailand. And before he went to Thailand, we tested his cardiovascular health, and he had a 64% chance of having a stroke or heart attack.
Wow.
So my suggestion was probably don't go to Thailand.
Don't go.
Right.
Let's
Yeah.
take care of this
Yes,
before you
yeah.
leave. And he'd already booked his flight and his vacation and
Mm.
all that stuff. So he was going to be there for 2 months. 3 weeks into his vacation, he had a triple bypass.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he had all the signs of having a stroke or heart attack. Thank God he ran the test and realized that, hey, what I'm feeling right now is probably a heart attack because I had a 64% chance. So he
Jeez.
checked himself into a hospital and they took care of it while he was in Thailand.
And that's great for
Wow.
people also that's traveling.
100%.
They can kind of get a heads up on what
Mhm.
type of condition that they're in
Yeah.
before they go international,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just local anyway, but especially people that are traveling internationally and could have this heads up before even going.
The beauty of this test is we're looking for inflammation inside of your vascular system, right?
Mm.
And although it is a test that is looking for your cardiovascular health, inflammation is inflammation. If it's not heart related,
Mhm.
it's something else. But you can't deny the fact that we're picking up inflammation at a very, very high and abnormal rate. Had another friend that brought his family in, mom, dad, uncle. And I happen to know his dad personally. And I know he's a very healthy guy, plays basketball 3 or 4 days a week, and he plays full court. So,
Wow.
he brags
Wow.
about
That
it.
3-on-3,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so he's 64 years old, I believe. And his inflammation markers came back at 95%.
Whoa.
Right. So now we're
Oof.
looking at it.
That's really
To your
It's
point
super
earlier, is like looks healthy.
Yeah.
Yes.
He looks
Doing
like a
active
healthy guy.
things.
And has a
Physically
healthy
looks like-
lifestyle,
Yeah.
but
Well, and this is one of the things I don't think people talk about is a lot of times people have a first heart attack
Mhm.
and they don't know.
Mhm.
They think they had chest
Silent,
pain
yeah.
or they had acid reflux or they had something else and they're having minor
Yeah.
cardiac incidents
Yeah.
and they don't realize until after.
Yeah.
Mhm.
My dad was one of those. My dad
Mhm.
was he's like, I was a rescue diver and took
Mm.
EMT school and all this stuff. So my mom was a nurse.
Mhm.
My mom's like, I don't like his symptoms. And he wouldn't listen to my mom, who was a nurse for like 40
Yeah.
years,
Of
right?
course.
So she's
That's
just
the
saying
wife.
that, yeah.
It's a,
That's why.
it's a classic guy doesn't listen to his wife.
damn
Yeah.
wives.
So she called me. She said, "Is there any chance you could take a day off and take your dad to the doctor because he won't listen to me?" I'm like,
Wow.
"Absolutely." So we get in the car. She goes, I don't want to say anything. Why don't you just ask him about his symptoms, run through it? And I'm like, so what does it feel like? He goes, well, sometimes it feels like something's sitting on my chest. I'm like,
There's your
Wow.
sign.
I said,
Yeah.
okay,
Yes.
any other things? He goes, oh, well, the other day I had a little bit of tingling. I was like, and we're literally on our way
Mhm.
To the hospital.
to a regular checkup for him.
Yeah.
And he has Kaiser, right? So everything's in one place.
Mhm.
And so as we're going, look, I said, with the utmost love and respect, I said, I am not letting you back in the car unless when you go in there, you tell them these symptoms.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget because he's like, oh, yeah, come on. You just leave me alone. He's an old school guy. Like, okay, fine. He walks in. It's like 20 minutes later. They're like, is Mr. Fishman here? And
That's pretty quick.
I'm like, he went inside. And they're like, okay. And then they come back out and they're like, is the younger Mr. Fishman here?
Wow.
And I said, let me guess, that idiot's having a heart attack. And they're like, they were so alarmed that I was not like freaking out.
Right,
They're like,
right.
yeah, we're admitting him to the hospital. We think he already had 2 or 3 small ones
Wow.
and was unaware.
Yeah.
Ugh.
But luckily
it.
you're here.
Mhm.
And they're like, he was literally getting ready to walk out
Yeah.
and said, oh, my son's going to give me a hard time and probably won't let me get in the car. So I have to tell you about this. And they ran
Yeah.
more tests.
Yeah.
And he ends up getting admitted for a couple of days.
Yeah.
And it was, imagine if we hadn't, right?
Mhm.
But we could have prevented all of that.
Mhm.
And this isn't like, oh, you have to have some crazy workup. This isn't, oh, we have to run on the treadmill and do an echocardiogram and all
No.
these.
Right.
This is just a
So it's
small
simple.
blood
Yeah.
test,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
just a one-time come in,
Mhm.
get your blood
10
drawn.
minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what else I want? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, and it's so affordable.
Yeah, let's
That's-
talk about that.
Let's talk about
Seriously.
that.
Well,
Let's
that's
talk
the other
about
part.
the insurance.
Yeah.
and
Yes,
money.
please.
Yes.
Yeah. Most of these echoes and cardios, you're going into hospitals, you're going into ERs, urgent cares.
There's only
you're doing-
certain ones that run it too.
Yeah. You have to have pre-existing conditions. Sometimes you have to have a symptom for them to do it.
Or fight.
Yeah.
Even if you have a symptom, sometimes
Mhm.
you have to fight someone to
Yeah,
approve it, because someone has to approve it, and then it has to
Absolutely.
go through all the approvals.
Yeah.
And sometimes some people have to wait weeks or months.
Mhm.
So what we do is we reduce the rate of this test. It used to bill out for over $700. We reduced it down to $300. If someone can't afford it, we break it down into like $50 payments.
Mm.
We make it extremely affordable. Some people, uh, absolutely can't afford it, and I'm looking at them, and I'm just like, you need it. Just sit
Right.
down and let's just do it for you. We'll take care of it.
Yeah.
But it's $300.
Yeah.
It's $300.
To save your life.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can't put a price
Yeah.
tag on your health. Like that's
Well, and that's the thing of kind of breaking it down into payment
Right.
plans. A lot of people will be like, that's a lot. But then once they get those results, they
Mm.
go, thank God I did it.
that's right.
Because they don't realize that that price is worth more
right.
than their life.
Well,
you know?
you put it as
Yeah.
like the warning light,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
You take your
Check
car in
engine.
for service,
Yeah.
right? And your car comes with a warning light.
Mhm.
And most of our electronics come with warning lights, and everything else, like our phones have a battery that
Right.
tells you when it's getting close to running out.
Yeah.
We don't have that.
Right.
So what is that worth to you?
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. We treat our cars better than we treat our bodies.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that is so
Yeah,
true.
that's
You do.
like
That is
Think how much
so
you spend on your car.
true.
Yeah.
But yet, if you don't get yourself together, you're not driving the
Yeah.
car.
Damn.
Well, that's it.
That's true, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing that I want to talk about, because that's how we met you guys
Mhm.
at an event, in Long Beach, just to let people know that you guys are out there at events and you're speaking and talking about the company. Let's talk more about these type of events or companies that want you guys to come out there and talk
Yeah.
about what you do. Let's talk about that.
Well, outside of just like the smart vascular,
Mhm.
we try to highlight our mobile draws too, which is huge, especially as we were at the event. It was
Right.
for more seniors,
Yeah.
where it's tough. Again, we talk about experience. Think of an experience of somebody in a retirement home or in kind of like a older community that they need to call their son or their daughter to drive them, take the day off to get to a big lab to get drawn, kind of be treated as a number. We're actually saying, hey, we'll come to you. Just book with us. We'll come to your home in the comfort of your home. If you're scared of needles, guess what? You're at home. You get to
That's
sit in
right.
your favorite chair or wherever. Draw you. We're there for 10 minutes and we're done. You don't have to take a 2-hour, 3-hour day to get on to whatever, an Uber, whatever, to get there.
Mhm.
Maybe it's hard for you to walk. Maybe it's hard for you to get there. That's kind of where we're trying to at least let the public know that is there.
Right.
You're paying however much for an Uber Eats or whatever, right? I spend just as much money on the food as I do in Uber Eats to
Mhm.
delivery.
Yeah.
So something like that on a actual mobile phlebotomist coming to your home to draw you, like
Yeah.
that's again,
You guys thought of
affordable.
everything. That's huge.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
back in the day, doctors used to actually make house
House
calls.
calls,
Right?
yes.
Mhm.
Back when doctors were really, really respected for helping and healing people,
Mhm.
they would come to your house. They would, obviously good bedside manner, all that stuff, but they would really take care of what your needs are.
Mhm.
And then population grew, and doctors found that it was easier to have an office and have you come to their office, and they would draw your blood there in his office when you're there. And then business got even more busy to where doctors were, hey, I don't have the time to draw you because I literally only have 10 or 15 minutes with you.
Mhm.
So bigger companies would offer, draw locations conveniently all over the place, and you can just go make an appointment. So doctors got used to writing 2 prescriptions, one for blood work, one for medication. And the truth is, they don't care whether you go to Walgreens or CVS or anything like that, nor should they care where you get your blood work done.
Mhm.
Now, if you understood the business behind laboratory services and you're a local doctor and you're not a national company, you're just one location or maybe 2 locations or something like that, and you're in Orange County, LA, wherever, and you understood that for the patient that you're dealing with, it's convenient for you to just say, hey, you need to get your lab work done You can make a phone call. They can come to you. You can come into one of their convenient locations. But if you come into their locations, you'll have your results the next day.
Yeah.
If
That's
you,
quick.
yeah, it's very
Wow.
quick, 24
Yeah, that's
hours.
quick.
Not a week,
Yeah.
not 2
Right.
weeks,
Yeah.
not
Not
it's
3
gonna
or 4
take
days.
4 or 5 days, and then
Right.
we're gonna send it to the doctor, and then the doctor's like,
Right.
Right. Then the doctor's got to look over and
Yeah.
then call you with your.
And that's not
results.
stat. That's just our normal process.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's for me, that's efficiency, right?
It is.
Imagine today's Monday,
Mhm.
right? I'm sick and I don't want to go to work today because I don't feel good. So I'm going to call my doctor. Well, I'm going to call work first and say I'm not going to
Keep that job.
Right? And they're
Yeah.
going to say, well, go see a doctor. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to try to get in with my primary care doctor, my family practice right now. And I'm calling him up. It's 11 o'clock right now. And he's halfway through his day, right? Hey, doc, can I come see you? Like, not today.
right.
You can't. But I'm going to try to squeeze you in tomorrow or Wednesday. So let's say he says, come in tomorrow. I'm going to call in work tomorrow again and say, hey, I got to go see the doctor. I already took 2 days off work. I'm going in to see my doctor, and he's going to, for the first time, say, what's wrong with you? Why'd you come in today?
Right.
You couldn't ask me that yesterday. You know?
Right.
And so now I'm going to tell you that I have a headache. I've been throwing up. I had a fever, maybe some stomach pains, yada, yada, yada. And basically, the doctor heard headache, stomach ache, fever. So I'm going to give you some medication for your headache, some fever reducer, and something there for your stomach pains.
Mhm.
Pepto-Bismol, right? Something you can pick up off the counter or something. And then he's going to give you a prescription for blood work. Now you're going to go try to find a location that's going to draw your blood today, if not tomorrow or sometime this week, right? And after you get your blood work done, the blood work goes back to the doctor and his nurse calls you.
Mhm.
A week later, his nurse calls you and says, doctor would like to see you. You're like, is there something wrong with me? You should probably come in because doctor wants to talk to you himself,
Right.
right? Then you come in a week later.
Yeah.
Take
When-
another day off.
Yeah,
Right,
take another day
another
off.
day off.
Wow.
So now you're back in the doctor's office, and he's going to say, well, we ran your blood work, and you had food poisoning last week.
Mm.
How do you feel? Well, I feel fine now.
Yeah.
My immune system kicked in, and
Right.
and maybe those medications that you prescribed for me worked, whatever it is, but I feel fine now. Is there anything else wrong with me? Nope. You're good. I just wanted to make sure you're good.
Yeah.
Good? All right, awesome. Have a nice day. Oh, by the way, here's the bill for today, too.
Yeah.
Well, and that's
Yeah.
the best case
The
scenario,
bill.
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Because
Right.
'Cause I was about to say, yeah, he's skipping out on. You can get the lab request from the doctor,
Yeah.
but a lab might not take you that day. Lab might say, "Hey, we don't have until Friday available."
Right. Some
Right.
of them
Is
you have
the
to take
stat?
appointments.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
well, and what if
Yeah.
what we learned during the pandemic? What if you had something like COVID, right?
Mhm.
And now you're trying to decide, do I go places where I may be contagious or not go places?
Yep.
But you also may be in a situation where your work may say, oh, no, you have to be here.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And then 3, 4, 5 days later, you find out I should have never been here.
Yeah.
And now what do I say to
Exposed to
everybody?
everyone,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's part of this, but also I don't feel well
Mhm.
or I don't feel right. I mean, we've talked privately about trusting that kind of intuition of your body,
Mhm.
listening to when your body starts telling you
Mhm.
for preventative medicine and start adjusting things. You don't have to ask somebody else's permission.
Mm-mm.
And I think that's another part.
What
Yeah.
What do you always say about that? About getting results before?
Well, there's an efficiency. I'm a business development kind of guy, right?
Right.
So there's an efficiency of saying to a doctor or blood work, I'm going to come in and I'm going to say to a laboratory like Lions Laboratory that, hey, I don't feel good. Doctor's going to say, can you go to Lions Laboratory, get your blood work done? I'm going to call it in for you. I'm going to go online and write a little script for you really quick. Take the doctor maybe 5 minutes. Get your blood work first, then come see me.
Right.
That way we can talk about real issues that are happening right now. I know what's going on in your system based off of the blood work. And then you're killing, you're killing time because on Monday when you called in sick, you could have gotten in and got your blood work done.
Right.
And then on Tuesday when you went to go see the doctor,
You have your
we're
results.
actually talking about real life scenarios, not maybes or whatever, and you're
Mhm.
not waiting a week for your results. So
You
so-
literally can walk in to your doctor with those results.
Right.
Which is the best. 'Cause,
Yeah.
like it changes the way you do a doctor's appointment. because
Mhm.
I'll say it because I've done that. Is like I got the blood. I'm like I need blood work.
Yeah.
Let me have that so that when I
Mhm.
go, otherwise like okay, I come. Now I go get blood work.
Right.
Now I got to come back for you to
Yeah.
tell
Right.
me about the results.
And pay another
And you
fee.
gotta pay
And sometimes if there's nothing going on, I just came to visit you so you could literally, and I waited the whole time and you walked in, you're like, hey, guess what? You're good. You're same
Yeah.
as before. Bye. I'm like,
Yeah.
we could have cut all of that out. Go get the
Mhm.
blood work first, show up and they say, okay, well, here's things that you may want to look at.
Mhm.
Or, oh no, man, you're good.
Mhm.
Great to see you.
Oh, the worst though to me is like a doctor or the nurse will call like a week later with your results,
Mhm.
and you're like, "Hey, I never heard back." Oh yeah, everything was fine.
Yeah.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Yeah, what does
Oh
that
my
mean?
gosh.
What is
Yes.
fine?
Yeah.
Fine is my least favorite word I think, in most things, right? Because anytime somebody tells you it's fine, it's not fine.
Right.
Fine is
I obviously
not
felt
finer,
something.
right?
That actually happened to me recent, and
Yeah.
it was weeks though, because
Yeah.
I was even calling my doctor,
Yeah.
and then I even called where I got my work done.
Right.
And I was like, anybody? And they're like, we'll call the radiologist
Yeah.
over there. And I'm like, can someone just tell me? When he called me and told me I was fine too, I was like, well, I need to see my
That's
pathology
it.
Right.
report.
I want to know what
because-
the numbers
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
remember
It's
asking you. I was like,
Yeah,
well,
you're like,
have
why
I
is it
heard
taking
back?
so long?
Yeah.
Well, and
Yeah.
fine is a relative
Yeah.
term, right? Like,
Yeah.
I want to know what the numbers are.
That's funny
Yeah.
that you
And what's
say that.
fine mean to
Yeah.
you?
right.
Yeah, yeah.
So at Lions Laboratory, we do this thing called a full sweep, and it's for people who, when we talk to, somebody who's trying to get healthy, who's trying to figure out what's going on in their problem. Maybe they want to lose some weight. Maybe they have low energy. They want to figure out what's going on, and they tell me that they haven't been to a doctor in a long time.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
So the only way to figure out what's going on in your body is to run a little bit of everything.
Right.
And the truth is, if you were to go to your family practice or internal medicine doctor, and you were to say to him, "Hey doc, I wanna get healthy. I wanna lose some weight, get back in shape, and all that stuff. Is there any tests that we can run to make sure that I'm okay?" And the doctor will say to you, "Well, are you feeling any symptoms?
Right.
Yeah.
Are you what are you feeling right now?" And you're like,
Mhm.
"Oh, I feel low energy." He'll probably say, "Do you wake up in the middle of the night for guys, women too? Do you have do you urinate a lot at night?" And it's like, "Yeah." He's asking questions because he's trying to figure out what is wrong with you. We're just trying to guess.
Right.
Right, right.
Maybe diabetes, because that's one of the symptoms is low energy and urinating a lot at night. Do you get up to urinate a lot at night? So these are questions that will lead him down to say, I'm going to run X amount of tests for you. And the truth is, he can only run a certain amount of tests
Just
for
due
you.
to insurance.
Yeah,
Right.
just because the insurance probably won't cover some of these other tests. So he
got
might
it.
run 5 or 6 tests for you. But if you say, hey, well, I was thinking about this testosterone stuff. Do you know anything about it, doctor? And he's like, well, I do know a little bit about testosterone, but they're not a specialist in hormones. You'd have to refer you to a hormone specialist.
Mm.
So you'd go to a hormone specialist, and then they'd run some hormone tests on you. Now we found out that you have maybe a high PSA or something like that. Let's check your prostate. Let's send you to a urology.
Mhm.
Urology found some markers that were a little bit high. Now we're going to send you to oncology.
Yeah.
Oh,
Boy.
So, so it leads
That's
down,
exhausting.
right? It's
That's
super
so
exhausting.
frustrating.
It's
And then 2 months
exhausting.
later,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weeks, months.
And you
Yeah.
still haven't gotten
Right.
all of your data yet.
No.
Yeah.
And you might not even get coverage for all of
Yeah.
this stuff.
Oh, that's true too.
So that's the worst part. And so what I know of it is there are certain basic markers that we should look at before it leads down to deeper dives, right? And so we believe at Lions Laboratory that there's 45 different tests that we put together into a package. We call it the full sweep. And it's $500 from us. It's a little over $11 a test.
Right.
And what it does is it checks for your basics, your CBCs, your CMPs, your lipids, all that stuff, your basic chemistries, and make sure you're not sick or anything like that. And then it looks for organ function.
Mhm.
And then it looks for vitamin levels.
Mm.
And then it looks for some urology stuff, your PSA, your prostate, all those things. We're just checking a little bit of everything without anybody's permission,
Mhm.
right? You're going to come in here, you're going to find out about your body, And then part of that, we're going to explain to you, our doctor that we contract with
Right.
explains to you what all of this stuff means in a 15-minute
Oh.
Not just
consultation.
you're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
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 You're okay.
Yeah.
Well, and
What is this number? Why is this
Right,
high? Why is
right.
that low?
well,
yeah.
and if you look at the graphs,
Mhm.
right, in medicine, and they're based on your age, which also, just because I'm getting older doesn't necessarily mean I want to be at the top of the fine group, right?
Right.
Mhm.
I get it that I'm in the parameters for
Fine
being
group.
fine.
Well,
right?
and that parameter is
It's
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 broad.
broad. It's broad.
And that's the
It's an
thing, it's like,
ocean. Yeah.
am I on the
Yes.
bottom of the fine
Right.
group, or am I at the top, almost at the risk group?
Yeah.
Because those are not the same.
Yeah.
And I want to know.
Right.
And no offense to my doctor. I respect my doctor. That's why he's my
Mhm.
doctor. But at the same time, I want to know where I'm at on that continuum.
Well, and that's off a population.
Right.
Yeah.
So that has changed over the years.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Used to be very different than it is now.
Right.
So that's the other crazy part about that.
And your doctor can only service you if he knows about it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mhm.
he only has a legal responsibility to take care of it if he knows about it.
Right.
But if he didn't run those tests, he doesn't legally know about it. So we're not going to address it unless you bring it up.
Mhm.
Now you're going to come back to him after you had this consultation with our doctor about what is wrong with you, maybe what's a little bit high, what's going that way, and we'll talk about lifestyle a little bit. A lot of times, diet and food. What are you putting into your body? How much exercise you get? But you're going to have a real conversation with a real person,
Mhm.
a friend,
Right.
that's going to give you some advice about what these numbers mean, so that you can take this report back to your doctor and know what questions to ask.
And they might run specialty tests after that
Absolutely.
if it's something serious, or like you said, or your point is of prescribing something then.
Or they might not prescribe anything, right? But
Mhm.
I might decide, hey, I don't like where I am on this continuum,
Mhm.
and I can
Right.
start making some life changes,
Exactly.
right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
this may not be a need for quote unquote medical intervention.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean I don't need to. If I knew my car, going back to the car analogy, if I knew the fuel that I was putting in my car and the car just didn't seem to run the same, and
Yeah.
I've been using a certain gas station,
Mhm.
I would change the gas station, right?
Right.
So I should be changing the fuel, my activity. If I look at the numbers and go, yeah, that might even be good for someone my age in my category, right? But I know 5 years ago, I was much lower, right? Just because I'm still in a normal range or in a good place
Yeah.
doesn't mean I'm happy for me, right?
Yeah.
And I can make adjustments, but only if I know,
There's so many times that we've had people come in, just want to check their vitamins.
right?
And they're like, oh, I take supplements all the time. And then they realize like they're not working for me.
Mm.
You know, they're still, their vitamin D or B12 is still really low. And they're like, what? But I take supplements all the time.
Wow.
But you might not break down that
Correct.
style of supplement, right?
Yeah.
There might be a lot of fillers in it, or
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
specifically, you genetically may be a bad match for that one, or maybe
Yeah.
you need
Right.
to take it in a different way.
Yeah.
Now, I bring that up because you guys have another thing that is related to
Great
being
segue.
very
That was
specific
good.
about your
Segue
genes.
there.
No,
Yeah.
because I was like, while we're
Natural.
speaking about this, you guys have
Yeah.
another test that
Yeah.
this one really blew my mind. I mean, the heart one is kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Yes.
The clean sweep, I'm literally sitting in this chair thinking, I need one.
Same. I'm
Yeah.
like, now I need all the tests.
But,
Yeah.
but there's also something that's really unique and special that you guys
Yeah.
provide.
It's called pharmacogenomics.
Okay.
And first, I'm going to tell you what it does, and then I'm
Yeah, because I won't be able to say that.
Well, short, you could call it PGX.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot easier.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
TGX. So if you're listening, if you're watching, and you want to go get it,
Write it down.
Yep.
TGX.
Yeah,
Yes.
PGX. Pharmacogenomics is the study of how medications process in your body genetically.
Mhm.
So when we're born, we have a genetic code. We are made that way, and we're gonna die that way. Our genetic makeup never changes. So if you were allergic to a specific medication, or if you were never able to break down that medication, you'll never be able to break down that medication for the rest of your life.
And I want to highlight this because as a parent,
Yeah.
I have one kid who has a really severe allergy
Mm.
of another child who does not process
Mm.
certain medications,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
We could have found out about this and not had the emergency and the
That's right.
scare.
Ugh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
So I want to tell people, like, sometimes you're taking a medication that your body says no to,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you might not even know.
Yeah.
But you
Well, that's
said
like
that
when they
process.
ask you too, when they're like, "Are you allergic to medication?"
Yeah.
I don't think so. I haven't had any effect,
Yeah.
But that's
But
Yeah.
this
But you
is,
said that process actually can help save lives
Absolutely.
if you're in an emergency
Yeah.
crisis. So definitely continue to
Yeah,
let people
yeah.
know.
Just that's a great point. You brought up your child that you want to know
Mhm.
this information right now, right? Well, the insurance companies put restrictions on when you can get this test.
Mhm.
You have to be 65 and above before they cover it anyway. You have to be on 6 medications or more. You have to be on the same medication for more than 6 months and deemed chronic
Mhm.
before you can even look into getting this test covered, right? So, um, like for a brand new parent, wouldn't you want to know for the rest of your child's life what they're going to be able to take, what they're not going to be able to take, and
Or-
what they need to stay away from?
don't take penicillin, right?
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is the first thing almost every doctor is going
Yeah.
to try to assign to them if
Mhm.
they ever need an
Mhm.
antibiotic.
Yep.
But your kid's allergic to penicillin
Mm-hmm.
because the first time you might not know.
Yep.
And then you have a reaction and the baby can't speak to you and tell you what's going
Yeah.
on inside. That's the other part.
No.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's just a blood test.
This
Or
is
the-
actually
or
No.
not
the-
even a blood
that-
test.
Yeah,
That's right. That's the
Is that the
This-
swab?
This
Swab.
is a swab.
Oh my
Oh.
So it's like that's
Come
right.
on, that's even.
Yeah.
Come on,
'Cause
swab.
all it is a swab,
Yeah.
right? Like no stick, no nothing,
Oh,
right? Like just
man.
It's not no COVID swab either. It's just a
Yeah.
nice, simple
Just a little
Yeah.
simple
swab.
one.
Yeah.
well, and this blew my
Not
mind.
gagging you, right?
No.
Tell people about what happens, how it works,
Yes.
and then what you
Yeah.
get at the end because this is amazing.
So it's a cheek swab. We you order the kit. We send it to your home.
Yeah.
There's a instructional little video that you can watch to see how it's done. But you basically just cheek swab the inside of your mouth, and we're taking the tissue off of your cheeks. We're gonna run a genetic profile on you to tell you how your body breaks down all active ingredients in all medications in the world. Um, and what we're going to give you is a 42-page full comprehensive report.
Hmm.
They're going to give you a green column of drugs that are actually suitable for your genetic makeup. These are the drugs that will work for you. There's a yellow column of drugs that will work for you as well. There are some adverse side effects like stomach ache, headache.
Not like life changing or anything.
Yeah, I don't
but
think thoughts of suicide
annoyance.
is acceptable.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm with you, right?
Yeah.
More like
Yeah.
simple
Yeah.
thing, eye twitching.
Yeah, those sort of things.
Mhm.
And then we're going to give you a red column of drugs that you absolutely need to stay away from. Your body does not break it down. You'll only take the adverse side effects from it. And the good thing is once you've had this test done, the last page, there's a little report card and an ID card. And you put this in your wallet.
Mhm.
And if you heaven forbid you were in a car accident, the EMT usually goes through your your wallet,
Yes, we
looks
do.
at your driver's license, tries to find out who you are, and then they'll see that you had ran a pharmacogenomics test. They'll know then what morphines to give you.
Oh, wow.
They'll know what medications you're allergic to, and you're
Mhm.
unconscious, so you can't talk
Right.
about this right,
Right.
now. Have you ever heard of people waking up in the middle of a surgery?
The surgery. Yeah.
Well, that
Seen it
person-
on television, but
right?
It happens.
It
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
It happens a
Yeah.
lot,
Yeah.
actually.
It actually happens a
Really?
lot more than people think.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just wake up
wow.
Yeah.
And then
and have kind of like they talk for a moment or they have a moment and the person gives them
Puts them
more,
back
right?
down. Yeah.
But that's how you guys can help with that too, as far as
Yeah.
the test.
And then what that is they're giving you a generic morphine or they're giving you something that will a medication that's going to put you to sleep. Well, they don't know that you're a fast metabolizer of that.
Mm.
Oh
So
my
a
gosh.
half-life of a drug could be 6 hours and you're waking up in like 2 to 3. So they give you more.
Whoa.
And everybody's different.
Yeah. Everybody's different. That's why
Yeah.
sometimes when you're doing surgery and people are like, "Oh, how was your surgery?" "Oh, it was fine. Yeah, I didn't feel a thing."
Right.
Yeah.
Passed out right away.
Or I passed out right away. And then
Right.
sometimes like, "Oh, I hate it. I felt the pain the entire time." Well, you're not supposed to feel the pain.
Right,
Right.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
And some people are really slow metabolizers.
Yes.
This is also a huge risk factor.
Yeah.
My grandmother was notoriously slow
Mm.
and she was high risk for
Mhm.
anything she ever went in for
Oh.
because she had a real reaction. She could have done this test and probably known which things she should have been on and which things she shouldn't. But
Mm.
this is
Yeah.
20, 30 years ago.
Mhm.
It wasn't available. We weren't aware of it.
Mhm.
This could have been a big change because she had to go through a whole bunch of stuff. And every time they were
Ugh.
afraid
Mhm.
that there was, and they would give you the whole risk thing of like, we've almost lost her twice, and like there's a very good chance this could change that for somebody. You
Right.
don't have to go through that experience.
Think about the we say we have a substance abuse problem in America, and a lot of people argue that and say that we have a mental health issue in America. And think about what we're giving our mental health people. We're giving them the cheapest drug possible.
Mhm.
We don't even know whether or not it's working for you or not, because we're giving the same drug to everybody. There's no pharmacogenomics test for every mental health person out there. So we don't even know if these medications are working for them or not, or if it's just a placebo effect that we're hoping that they.
Or contributing to further mental
Absolutely.
health issues.
Yeah.
I mean, you just talked.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you look at so many of the things that we give people,
Mhm.
I remember being a teenager and having a dermatologist want to put me on Accutane.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things was higher risk of potentially suicidal thoughts
Mhm.
and idealization. And I
Mhm.
was like, nah, I'll keep the pimples. Right? I was like, look, I got enough to really be depressed
Yeah.
about right now. There's some
Yeah.
things going on in my life. Like, I don't need anything that's going
Right.
to swing me further on that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I was really aware because I had lost a lot of people, right?
Mhm.
So I had a unique perspective. But this is another example.
Mhm.
If you took this test, you can look at your genetics and say, look, I'm predisposed to this, or
Mhm.
I'm going to have greater impacts of some of the counter effects.
Mhm.
This is not a good medication for me.
But what's
Right.
nice too with this, the results, is it's actually referring to alternative options. So it's not just saying no to this totally, but
Right.
it's saying here's some alternatives you can use instead.
Mhm.
Okay.
So then that way it's not like you can't use anything for your face. At least you have other options.
Right.
Right.
This is a better choice. This
Yeah.
one's metabolized better by your body.
Mhm.
This is a better genetic match for you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Crazy thing is, this test came out over 15 years ago.
Wow.
So
And no one's
bizarre.
even talking about it, basically.
The
except for
pharmaceutical
you
company
guys.
definitely doesn't want to talk
Yeah,
about it.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna get in trouble
Of
for
course.
for my very honest just
Yeah.
response. But I want people to know.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
I would rather. I mean, I know this is your stance. I mean,
Yeah.
this is one of the things you and I bonded over. Is like you would rather people know,
Absolutely.
even if people get mad at you, or
Yeah.
if a big company's mad at you, and there are those moments.
Right.
You'd rather people had the opportunity
Yeah.
to be safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not a super expensive test either.
It's $300.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah.
and when you think about it and you break it down over all of the different drugs that you're testing
Yeah.
for.
And it's a one-time test.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
65 or up, 6
Yeah.
medications or more, or if you're on one medication for more than 6 months.
And
So
it's gonna
those
seem chronic.
correct.
And most of the time,
Because then
the
they're
insurance
wondering why are
companies-
you taking this
Yeah.
for 6 months and
Yeah,
not
think
offered
about
it.
a pain, somebody in excruciating pain who's
Right.
on like 2 Percocets a day,
Mhm.
and they're popping 2 Percocets a day,
Ugh.
and they're still in so much pain every day. What if the half-life of that drug was supposed to be 6 hours or 8 hours, whatever it is, and you're a fast metabolizer of it. So do you feel the immediate pain relief? Yes, but it doesn't last you as long, and so you're popping more of these pills, and you become addicted to it because the minute that you take it, the pain goes away, and so your brain figures, if I take this, the pain will go away. So every time the pain comes back, I'll take it. And a lot of people, unfortunately, don't listen to the doctors when they're like, "Hey, don't take more than 4 a day.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm in pain
Or
right
don't take them
now."
all at once.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Well-
you know, that might be why there's such an addiction problem
Mhm.
Mhm.
in our country, because people don't have this test.
A lot of
So
it
they
comes
keep-
from medicine that you're prescribed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And just putting it in their hands and
Yep.
going, well,
Yeah.
I told them what to do.
Wow.
Well, and if you're gonna get severe side effects,
Mhm.
or you are a super fast metabolizer, it's like, okay, well, that might be a great drug generally,
Mhm.
Correct.
but for you, it's not a good choice. And so
Mhm.
now all of a sudden,
Yeah.
it's highly addictive. So you're probably going to get those features too. And then you're a super fast metabolizer, so it's not going to work well for you. Where
Yeah.
maybe a lesser drug would be a much better choice because it will last longer
Mhm.
because your body doesn't metabolize that as fast.
I've seen this work on someone I used to do business with, and he had suffered from anxiety, depression, was on Paxil since he was 17 years old, and that was the drug that his psychiatrist thought was best for him, because probably in the 90s, Paxil was the drug of choice. And he's been on that the entire time, and he's actually a doctor of pharmacology. So he's constantly saying that I don't know if this drug is even working for me, but he takes it like religiously.
Wow.
And then we found out about pharmacogenomics through another psychiatrist, and that was years ago. And he ran the test, paid cash for it. It was thousands of dollars back then, and he paid for it, and we got the results. And lo and behold, the number one drug on the red column, absolutely stay away from, will not work.
Paxil.
Paxil.
Oh,
Wow.
Excellent.
All of that could have been
nuts.
avoided.
He was so angry at his psychiatrist for prescribing it for him. But the truth is, he didn't know.
Well,
Yeah.
there's no way for
You're right.
Yeah.
They didn't know.
They didn't run the test.
Yeah.
There's no way for them to know, and they're going by the general numbers
Yeah.
again. And this is the thing is,
Where do we get that general number from?
well, that's
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Good
That's the
point.
pharmaceutical company
Yes,
saying this
good
is the general
point.
number,
Yeah.
right? That's marketing.
And
Right.
Yeah.
And to your
Um,
point too, on our results, that first page, you write down all the prescriptions you're taking today. On that first page, it's going to highlight all of those first.
Mm.
So you know right away on that first page,
Wow.
this is the yes, no, and definitely not.
Mhm.
And then after that, it's 41 pages of every other ingredient in medication.
Can people make an appointment or they can just walk in?
You just
It's
order it
sent-
online.
Hey.
Order it online.
that's
and
right.
we'll
And
send
they
it to your
send it
send
to
home.
your
your
home.
house.
Yeah,
Right?
you don't even have to come in for
Yeah.
that.
Well, and
That's really easy.
41 pages,
Yeah.
right?
It's a book.
That's a lot of pages.
Like-
This is a book, but
but
it's good.
That's good. Yeah.
Keep in mind, there's no way the average person is going to have that much knowledge. There's no
Mm-mm.
way even
No.
most doctors could
No.
have that much experience with that many different medications
Mhm.
on average.
Because it's all different.
'Cause
It's
it's
all
all
different.
across
It's
everything.
broken down in different categories too. So
Mm.
whether you're in psychology, whether it's in hormones, it tells you exactly what your breakdown is for your body.
Mm.
Now, I think we talked about this before.
definitely.
I
I
used
like
to
to
speak
have
at
that
symposiums where I used to be so passionate about this, and I'd speak all the time about pharmacogenomics. And I was just wondering, how come these doctors aren't more excited about this?
Right.
This is like a cheat code to
Right.
my body. Why don't you want this information? And I finally had one lady in the front row, like, say on the side of her,
Kind of like snobby
yeah,
about
snobby
it.
about it. It was like, you know how many clients we'd lose?
Ooh.
And I thought, oh my God, at least this lady had the balls to
To
say,
say
it,
it. Yeah.
And what she was saying was true. Doctors are afraid that what if I put you on the wrong medication?
Mm-hmm.
That's okay.
Mhm.
We have to learn to forgive our doctors for not knowing. This is not a blame game or anything like that. But now that you know that there's a test out there that does this, why wouldn't you do it for me? Or why wouldn't I want to know this information for myself?
Mhm.
And now I can bring this newfound information back to my doctor and make a more educated assessment of what drugs I should be on, if I need to be on drugs at all.
Yeah.
You know.
That
Well,
part right
That was a
there.
good
You
part.
know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you could almost this is almost a test. We do all these standard tests for young kids.
Yeah.
Like this is almost one of those things that should be a standard test early in your
100%.
life, right? Like,
Yeah.
okay, it's just like you could do it with a baby,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
We do a blood draw, we do all these other things right when they first come out. You
Mhm.
could do a swab and
Mhm.
know for the rest of their lives, here's what works good for you, here's what doesn't work good for you,
This
Yeah.
is an amazing baby shower gift.
right?
Seriously.
Seriously.
Yeah,
Oh,
for
that's-
real. Yeah.
That really
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Box
Like,
right
car
there.
seats cost more than that
Yes.
these
Right?
days. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Got
no,
that right.
it's
Double that.
amazing.
Yes.
It's one of these tests that you might not think that it's going to save your life right now, but it could prevent
Yeah.
a lot of mishaps in the future.
Toxic pharmacology is such a huge thing in the
100%.
hospital
Mhm.
too.
Mhm.
Like people don't realize because it's a lot of times it's 2 or 3 separate doctors.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And they are only looking at the things, and sometimes things haven't already fully been charted, right?
Mhm.
Especially in an emergency scenario, one doctor prescribes this, another doctor prescribes this, the other specialist comes in and pushes this, but the 3 of them together can be horrific.
Yeah.
And it happens more
Because
often.
they
than-
kind of all have their own interpretation.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Individually, every one of those drugs is totally safe.
Mhm.
2 of them is probably safe, but
Yeah.
the combination of the 3
Mhm.
can be deadly.
Right.
And,
Oh.
and the older you get, the more medications you're on.
Mm-hmm.
Years ago, I went to ER during COVID. Scared, I thought, "Oh my God, I have COVID! Like my heart, I
Right,
can't breathe." Turns out it was just a heartburn. And,
Wow.
everyone in the hospital is laughing, like, all these young people, you guys come in thinking, it's
Yeah.
just, you're
Right.
not having a heart attack, you're having that. Okay, but they prescribed me a bunch of stuff. Oh, you probably have acid reflux a lot, all that. Gave me a bunch of medicine as I walked out. I was like, "Wow, I didn't know I need to take all this now." Went and did a follow-up with my doctor. He's telling me, do not take this.
Oh,
Are
my.
you okay now? Yeah. He threw it in the trash in front of me.
Mm.
He said, this is all bad. It's going to cause suicidal thoughts after a year or two. It's going to give you psychosis. I was like, just for acid reflux?
Jeez.
And he was a good doctor to where
Yeah.
he's like, no. But like, to your point, the hospital, they're just throwing everything at me, going, hey, this is going to help with your acid reflux. But little do they know all this
It
extra.
actually didn't.
Well, it's
it
like those
wasn't-
commercials too, when
Yeah.
they're like,
Yes.
you gotta
Oh, at-
take this
at
for
the end
this,
of
and
every-
It's like
Yeah.
you might have blah 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 blah. blah,
Yeah, yeah.
and
And you're like, what the
And it's
hell?
always super fast. It's like
Yeah.
it's like
Just
they
for
took
dry
your voice-
eyes?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're like you might die.
Well, and that's
Give me the dry eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? And long term.
That is so true.
So
Dave.
many of these drugs were never designed for long
Yeah.
term
No.
use.
No.
But people are living on them. I
Mhm.
mean, most of the psychiatric drugs
Yeah.
were never designed for long term use. They were designed for short term use,
Mhm.
and we're using them long term.
Mhm.
And we had kind of a bit of a conversation on another episode with Dr. Drew, and he was talking about certain things that are prescribed, and that most doctors come with a great intention, and most doctors are doing great work.
Yeah.
But everybody's body is different.
Yeah.
And how your body metabolizes is so important. What you can process, because as much as we all act like medicine is the same, everybody's body is slightly
That's
different.
right.
And then all the things you eat impact
Yeah.
those things too. And we're all walking chemistry sets,
Yeah.
and we don't know the full grasp and scope of that.
That's true.
But you have a test right here.
Yeah.
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 I feel like I need
Oh.
that test for sure.
You know,
Yeah.
so it's funny. You mentioned
Yeah,
Dr.
I
Drew.
do need that.
Well, I'm a big fan, Dr. Drew. And he talks about myocarditis a lot, and he talks about some of the causes or the reasons why people are having myocarditis, and we're seeing that more and more this year. It's just really, really weird that in the last 4 years, it's almost doubled. The rate of heart disease and heart attacks and strokes have more than doubled in recent years. If you just Google between 2005 and 2018,
Mhm.
our national death for heart disease was somewhere around 365,000 deaths
Jeez.
a year.
That's a lot.
Well, it's over 700,000
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, it's more than double. now.
Jeez.
And it's more important now to figure out what's going on in your body,
Absolutely.
preventative, and fasting. Just fasting alone. It's just completely staying off of certain, not all drugs, not all medication, but there are some people who actually do need medication. If you have high blood pressure and you have those sort of things, you have heart medication that you have to take, definitely don't fast from that.
Right.
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 But things like diabetes, which is something that we do, not type 1 you're born with, but type 2,
Right.
we do that to ourselves. And we did that by putting foods into our bodies that our
Mhm.
body didn't need, and simply stop putting that food
Yeah.
into our bodies will kind of reverse it a little bit,
Right.
Kind of to your point, like the fuel, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
you're putting the wrong fuel in. Yeah.
we
Just
don't
simply
consider it enough.
Yeah.
I think, and this is one of the things, especially early in life,
Mhm.
you're not choosing what you eat. Your family's choosing what you eat.
Yeah.
That's true.
And so you're kind of being imprinted with this kind of
Yeah.
blueprint or this plan or
Mhm.
this base level
Mhm.
that may be very detrimental for you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's not, a lot of times, your parents not trying to be detrimental to you.
Right.
But it
Be
may
just
be,
quick, convenient.
Yeah.
it might be
whatever.
the baseline they
Yeah.
were given from their
Mhm.
parents.
Mhm.
Right.
It might be
Hmm.
need in their mind because of economic reasons or location and some of this stuff. But that doesn't mean you have to stay there.
No.
And just because we have an issue
Mhm.
doesn't mean that we have to be defined by that issue, right? And
So true.
every one of these tests, right? We talk about preventative medicine. So if you get the heart test, okay, now you have an idea of where you are and what you need to change.
Yeah.
And in a world where we're having over twice as many, this is a really important test. And for young people,
Mhm.
because of the shocking increase, which is like 4 or 6 times what it
Mhm.
was, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And then you look at the genetic testing. You know, for life, you jokingly said, but it was probably one of the most brilliant things I've ever heard is that's probably the best baby shower gift I could ever give somebody,
Mhm.
right? Like no pain to your child and a lifetime of
Yeah.
knowledge and awareness of their genetic
Yeah.
predisposition and makeup.
You're paying a lot more for a 23andMe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. And then
what does that do for you and your health?
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
and then
Yeah, I've had that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can turn around now and go get a clean sweep and have
Yeah.
you know, vitamins and everything across
That's
the board
brilliant. Yeah.
and do it all in a facility that is like beautiful
Mhm.
and quiet
Yeah.
and easy to get into and with people who actually value the outcome.
Mhm.
Because that's the other part. It's one of the things that we were really drawn to about you guys is you're not a hey, come in and then leave.
Yeah.
Right? The openness of you have a very different business model, right? It's a lab, so there is a business, right? But business doesn't have to be impersonal.
Mm-mm.
And medicine in particular, a lot of times has become impersonal as it got bigger.
Mhm.
And it's not a blame on someone.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
But it doesn't have to be that. You're giving people an option to kind of go back in time and have a more personal experience.
Mhm.
Well, speaking of facility, how about letting our viewers know, our listeners, how they can find you guys?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah. That's
Come
fine.
on,
Hit 'em
Dan.
up. You can,
Come on, Dan.
You can
Head
check
of
us out on our
marketing.
check us out on our website, lionslaboratory.com. It's up on there. And you can also just call us or even book an appointment online or call us through our office. And the nice thing about our laboratory is when you call, it's an actual person that's on site
Yep.
that
That's
you're
what I'm
talking
talking
to.
about. Yeah.
And so many times as we talk about elderly, like they just want to talk to somebody.
Right.
They don't want a machine. So that's the nice part too. So you can book either way. And then if you want like the full sweep or anything, you could book all that and put it in your shopping cart on our website and then make the appointment. And you could book either a mobile draw on our website as well if you already have a rec form from your doctor or if you're wanting to use us for the first time.
Okay.
Wow.
So, what would you like to leave people with, Alex, about what they should know and keep in mind, top of mind about what we all discussed here today?
I think it's the movement has moved that way. I've noticed a lot more this year. You're hearing that the general public is taking information in for themselves. I think people are starting to know that knowledge is power, obviously, and they want to know what's going on in their body, and they want someone who will explain it in layman's terms to them, uh, and that's what we do. We try to break that down. We explain it to you. We empower you to learn it for yourself and give you some ideas of how you can solve this. And we work with some amazing doctors that, if you don't have a good doctor that's handling it for you, we have doctors that we would love to refer that we work with that I think are doing some amazing healing stuff that are out there. Some of them aren't even doctors. Some of them are just amazing naturopathic healers and those sort of things. But however you're getting care for it, if something's not working, look for other alternatives.
Right.
And Lions just wants to diagnose you. We want to help you find out, get to the root of the problem, and do it affordable and
Right.
do it respectfully. Yeah, we want to help wherever we can.
Great.
That was wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, I think, first of all, we want to thank you guys again for coming here to share this very, very pertinent information with the viewers and listeners. That's life-saving information and preventative measures that we all should think about in our daily routine is what we can do to help ourselves.
Mhm.
And you have created that model for individuals to utilize and to live a longer life, and longevity is a big deal.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I want to thank you.
Yeah, I would just say for people at home listening or watching this, the genetic test, you guys can mail it to them.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if they're close to one of
Mhm.
your locations.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter where they are. They can get that from anywhere.
Mhm.
And depending on where you are, that might be something you might not be able to get a lot of other places. So
right.
I would encourage you to really kind of explore that opportunity. And then if you're in the area, give them a chance. Here's what I'll tell you. If you'll walk in, it'll be a different experience.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really important thing. And I just appreciate you guys trying to empower people
Thank
to have
you.
power in their own health.
Jay.
And I just love seeing you guys.
Keep it
Just,
real.
good energy. It's just I just love it. And,
Yeah.
I'm sure to catch you at more events.
Right,
And
right.
just excited because I now
Yeah.
need to go get some testing.
I know, it's
Or your
like
friendly
the-
reminder.
Yeah.
it's like the three of us are
Yeah.
like, well,
gotta
so
get
we're gonna
this
have
done.
You know,
Yeah,
it's-
we need to do a show
yeah.
on that next,
Oh
how
my
we
God.
all did this.
Yeah,
Right, right.
yeah.
Well, I mean, thank you guys again.
Thank
and,
you.
We thank our viewers for watching our Lovesick podcast and listening to our Lovesick podcast. And we hope that we provide you with information that you can use or you can pass it on to your loved ones or your family and friends, whomever may need it. But thanks for watching and listening.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Absolutely.